prophetic word. And so what does Deuteronomy instruct us other than one day, if the people are faithful and return to me, they will return to the land. In chapter 30, verse 2, it says, return to the Lord your God, and you and your children obey him with all your heart and with all your soul. This is a slightly different tenor now. It's no longer obey the letter of the law, the ritual of the law, obey the words, but it's now obey your heart and your soul. Something has changed in post-exile Israel. And then in verse 6 it says that the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, in order that you may live. Do you hear the broad distinction of tone from that which is the law, this code that is in ritual offered verse after verse? Don't do this, only do that. If you do this, this will occur. And now our hearts are circumcised so that we may love the Lord our God and live. So Paul is sitting here writing in a second temple Israel. This is post-exile Israel. So of course, Paul looks to that prophecy from the Torah, chapter 30 of Deuteronomy, and he says, this is what applies to us now. The law that was contained before no longer trumps that which guides our hearts and guides our souls. That which resides deep within that allows us to love and to live. And so I am calling the Jews, the people of Israel, to understand that Jesus is this answer, that which allows us to love and live. So from the second temple Israel, the second temple reality, Paul refers back specifically to verse 14 of Deuteronomy chapter 30, where he refers back and says, the word is very near to you. It's in your mouth and in your heart for you to now observe. It's in your mouth, it's in your heart. You know, it's not about this reaching up to heaven. In Deuteronomy, it also tells us that this is a time when you would reach up to heaven and reach down into the abyss. And Paul says, that's not possible for you or for I to do. We can't attain heaven. We know what happens there. We've seen when the people built the tower to God that just doesn't end well. We know that when we try to save people from the deep stages of darkness that they're in, that we cannot do that on our own. But it is through Christ that these things can be done. That God knew in post-exile that there would have to be one that could become incarnate, bringing God to earth, that could be raised from the dead, go to the deepest darkness that we could ever know and be raised up. And so it is that very thing that we are to proclaim with our mouth and to believe with our hearts. Do you remember when the census came around to your homes? Most of you did it probably via mail. Some of you might have neglected that opportunity and had a little knock on the door, a wonderful government worker there at your door, inviting you to fill out the census, respond to all these questions. I'm struck by the number of options that you could classify yourself by. I mean, really, you can earn this much and you can work in these professions and you can be of this race or of this nationality, you can be of this creed or religion, so on and so forth. There are all these many ways that you can classify yourself. And yet for Paul, there were only two things he was concerned about. He was concerned about the Jews and the Gentiles. That's it. You were either a Jew or you weren't. That's your only option. Everyone can be classified in this same list. It's quite simple, in fact. And so in Romans, when he comes to this point, he says, there's now no distinction between Jew or Greek, for everyone who calls on the name, for everyone, both Jew and Gentile, everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. I love math. Not as much like finances and doing like my own computer bank accounts. That's just depressing. Or those sorts of things. But I enjoy math immensely. The kind of thing that you do in school, those courses that no one in college wanted to take. I just skipped past all the college level algebra and went straight to business calculus, so I only had to take one math class. I showed up a couple of times, took the test, and an A. I love this kind of math. And here Paul builds a giant equation for us. Okay, it's a huge equation, and there's just one unknown variable left. Are you with me? Here at the very end, this equal sign then tells us what the goal is. Okay? And you have to know what you're striving for. And in fact, here, this goal is something that has to be stated. For if you call on the name of the Lord, you will be saved. So, saved people, whether they're Jews or Gentiles, saved people is this end of the equation. Now I want to know just briefly that this calling on is critical. That this saying something about it has to be done. Because, let's be honest, if you set a goal for yourself, and it's a goal that you set within your heart, if you don't share it with anybody, if your wife doesn't know about it, if your husband doesn't know about it, if your coworkers don't know about it, if no one knows about it, it's easy to hit the snooze button on that goal, is it not? It's easy to procrastinate on it for a little while longer. But instead, maybe we should be putting it in writing. Maybe we should be stating it out loud so that when something like this happens, that you are saved, you should tell someone about it. Do you understand? You should tell someone about it. And here it says that everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. End of the equation. Are you ready? This is a beautiful. We're going to work backwards because Paul works backwards to get to our unknown variable over here. So first we're over here, that everyone will be saved. Right? That people will call on the name of the Lord. Equal sign, come backwards, okay? But how are they to call if they have not believed? Belief has to take place, right? So calling on the name of the Lord, equal sign, belief. We'll just go with a plus sign for simplicity's sake. We'll go backwards one more. But how are they to believe in one whom they have not heard? They have to hear about it. They cannot believe in it unless they have heard about it. So they have to hear about it. Calling on the name, belief, hear. Let's work back one more step. How are they to hear without someone to proclaim Him? So they can't hear unless it's actually stated, unless there's proclamation. Let's work one step back further, and we get our unknown variable, and that is, who is there to proclaim unless there is one that has been sent? People cannot be saved unless someone accepts the call and is sent. Now, I wonder how you would solve this equation. I mean, we could subtract here, shift it over there, and twist it around as many times as we want, but I want you to know that there is only one way to solve this sent piece. And that is for you and for me to accept that challenge.